Hi, everyone. I know TEDx can be intellectually draining sometimes, so I figured we'd start with one of my favorite ways to de-stress, baby pictures of me. I'm the fat kid on the left. The girl on the right is my then best friend. My father recently hit me with a bit of a truth about this picture. I always thought that I was posing. Turns out I haven't actually learned to stand on my own yet. So my grandmother is holding my hand just out of frame, and this is just me trying to keep my balance. But ignoring that truth, this picture exemplifies my life. I'm doing something ridiculous. The person with me looks terrified, and I have no idea what's going on. I've always been the weird kid. In elementary school, my mother was thrilled that when she picked me up, I was in the corner reading Roald Dahl while the other kids played. In middle school, I decided I was going to be cool. I'm very bad at being cool, and it didn't work. So, middle school sucked. But middle school sucks for everyone, right? And then I was lucky enough to be able to attend the Bergen County Academies, a STEM magnet high school in New Jersey. There, I finally fit in. I found a community of nerds and geeks and eccentrics, and there, it was completely acceptable that I would run up to people and go, "Do you want to hear a gross medical fact?" Or recite poetry in the hallway. In fact, these were completely acceptable ways to make friends. And then I came to Georgetown. And it doesn't work quite so well here. So I ended up spending a lot of time alone in my room. And with that time, I would watch medical documentaries. One of my extremely annoying habits is that whenever something happens, so say whenever I have a nosebleed, I tend to go, "I guess this is leukemia." And last week, when I banged my finger in a door, I went, "Well, guess they're gonna have to amputate," and then I promptly put it in my TED Talk. I did that. So my roommate, who is in the audience right now, is fantastic. So she usually goes, "Okay, Rebecca, that's fine," and laughs. This time, I was watching a medical documentary on a little girl who had been diagnosed with autism, even though she appeared highly social. And when I was watching this, I looked at Jenny and went, "Hey, maybe that's me. Maybe that's why I've been having so much trouble making friends." Instead of going, "Yeah, Rebecca, okay, haha." Instead, Jenny turned, looked at me, and went, "Actually, you should go talk to somebody about that." I was diagnosed 2 months later. For me, autism means that I find it very difficult to make friends and connect with people. I often come off as extraordinarily strange, and I can really only have good conversations about my special interests, usually neuroscience. It also means that I don't really have a sense of stage fright, so hello. But when I started telling people that I'm autistic, I started slowly at first, but I'm giving a TED Talk about it now, so people had a variety of reactions. One of the first was, "Oh, yeah, I knew that," which, thank you, you could have saved me a lot of money in medical bills, but okay. But another was, "Okay, I see that. I guess I didn't really think of you as autistic." Okay, what do people think of as autistic? Looks an awful lot like this. These are white men. They have very little interest in friendships. They're usually quiet in the corner, definitely no interest in romance, God forbid, no interest in sex. They are interested in math, they're interested in science, they're interested in video games, they hate changes in routine, and they hate loud noises. While this is one picture of autism, here's another. Autistic people encompass people of color, encompass all genders, all ethnicities and nationalities, all professions, sexual orientations, etc., just like any other group. We are parents, we are lovers, we are students, We are business people, we are activists, we are professors, we are doctors, just like any other group of people. For me, I'm not an autistic stereotype. For one thing, I'm a woman. For another, I talk way too much instead of not enough. I very rarely flap my hands, and I don't mind loud noises, but I tend to seek out sensory stimulation. So my hair is tied back today because I tend to play with my hair, and I'm not wearing a cardigan because I would end up wrapped up in it. Why does that matter? Well, everybody has a picture of everything in their mind. It's called the availability heuristic. You have a picture of every medical condition, and so does every doctor. When they imagine autism, people tend to imagine, there you go, the little boy in the corner who's not talking to anyone. That's not me. And so when a doctor looks at me and I don't fit their heuristic, they're less likely to think that I might have autism. And I'm less likely to get diagnosed. When I was diagnosed, it made a huge difference to my life. Instead of thinking that it was my fault that I couldn't make friends and that I needed to change something about myself, I instead accepted that this was a harmless neurological difference. And I was able to find community in groups of autistic people, usually online, and it was fantastic. It absolutely changed my life. The availability heuristic is part of medicine. It's part of every medical condition. For example, we diagnose aortic aneurysms with severe abdominal pain and tachycardia. We diagnose breast cancer with a lump in the breast. We diagnose a heart attack by crushing chest pain and pain in the left arm. And we diagnose colon cancer by abdominal discomfort and GI symptoms. This is true for some people, like autism, but this isn't true for everyone. And people who do not present with these symptoms, people who do not fit availability heuristics, they are often misdiagnosed, and the outcomes can be fatal. Misdiagnosis literally costs people their lives. So, what can we do? What can I do? What can you do? After all, I'm not just here to complain, right? I'm not here to tell you that my life is awful because I wasn't diagnosed on time, because it isn't. This is about making change. So how can we start? Well, we can start by doing exactly what I'm doing right now. We can be open. By being open about my autism, by forcing people to listen to me, I'm changing the way that people think of autism. Instead of that little boy in the corner talking about Thomas the Train Engine, people might think of me. Or they might think of both of us. And as more of us do that, as more of us are open, people's worldviews come more and more in line with the actual reality. If a doctor is listening now, or if a doctor hears about me, maybe next time they see a young woman presenting with social problems, for example, they will be less likely to diagnose her with a social anxiety disorder, as doctors try to diagnose me. I do not have social anxiety, by the way. I am on a TED stage. So we can make a difference that way. I can make a difference to that young girl's life. I understand my own privilege here. I understand that I am very lucky to be going into an industry, science, which values eccentricity. And I am lucky to have family and friends who support me. If somebody doesn't appreciate my autism and the qualities it gives me, I don't have to care about that. But for those of us who are also privileged and who can be open about their conditions, I recommend it. Imagine the perceptions that we could change. Imagine the diagnoses that could be given, the questions that could be answered, the treatments that could be rendered. Imagine the lives that could be saved. And go forth and be open. Thank you.